One of the questions I wanted to ask you was, which species do you see affected most by obesity? Shall I guess?
Go on then.
Beardies.
You keep going.
Leopard geckos.
Yeah.
Corns.
Yes.
Boids.
Yeah.
Boids, boas. Yeah.
So I think it's... What do I think? Corn snakes, I see a lot of obesity.
Is that right? I thought beardies would be top of the list.
Beardies and corn snakes and leopard geckos. I pretty much agree with all of the ones you've just mentioned.
Yeah.
I think corn snakes, as far as snakes go, in terms of the snakes I see, because dealing with the pet-owning public, the majority of snakes that I see are corn snakes and royal pythons.
Yeah.
But not exclusively, but that's a huge proportion of my
Those
caseload.
are the two biggest, most popularly kept, aren't they?
I do see obese royal pythons,
Okay.
but it's fairly rare, I would say. I think royal pythons are quite good at regulating their own body weight. You know, they'll just go for a fast.
Yes, good
when
point,
they've decided that maybe they've had a bit too much.
For our American viewers, of course, the royal python is also called the ball python.
Ball python. But corn snakes don't do that. They don't fast.
Just keep on eating.
They just keep going.
Yeah.
You feed them and they eat.
Yeah.
And yeah, so corn snakes are the most common snake I see. But large constrictors.
Yeah, why?
I think it's because some people want
to see a
they want to grow them as big as they can.
Yes.
I mean, you've only got to, I'm not going to name any names, but you've only got to look on YouTube and you'll see lots of very big reticulated pythons in particular. It's more of a thing in retics than it is in berms.
Is that right?
I think. Well, in my experience, yeah. But I think that's because retics
have the potential to grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lizard-wise, beardies most commonly, leopard geckos very common, and then it's your things like tegus,
bosks,
and bosks. Bosks.
Have you ever seen a thin one? Have you ever seen one that was the right weight?
They're often okay when they're young.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've ever seen a 4 or 5 or 6 year old bosk
that weren't obese.
That wasn't obese.
And they're not just a bit fat, are they?
No. So that species in particular is a challenge.
Tell me why.
I think bosk monitors, from what I understand, and we're all learning, but if you look at some of the research that's been done about their natural biology, there seems to be this school of thought that in the wild they undergo what's called a diapause, which is basically where they come from in Africa, they have a dry season and a wet season, and in the dry season they basically just stop eating, or food diminishes substantially.
Yeah.
So for like a significant portion of the year, they're barely eating anything.
Yeah.
And you see pictures of wild bosk monitors, and they are skin and bones. And I was watching, there's another reptile YouTube channel where they go to the habitats of common pet reptiles and they have a look. And I was watching one recently on bosks, and they found a bosk in a burrow that was a skeleton. You know, it looked like it was dying.
Yeah.
And we don't know what was wrong with it. And maybe it did have kidney disease or cancer or who knows. But a lot of the comments were saying, well, actually, that's just a bosk that's going through diapause, and it's a natural process. See,
that's my understanding from conversations I've had with people who've looked at the research about bosk monitors. And I think there was a guy called Daniel Bennett. Daniel Bennett?
That rings a bell.
Yeah. He did some research into bosks, wrote a few books, and then came back a few years later and says, actually, everything that we thought about bosks was wrong, and actually the diet and the fasting that they do and the way they look when they're fasting isn't something that you could countenance in captivity.
No. But as responsible reptile keepers, we have to have a think about what species we're recommending people keep.
Yeah.
I'm not in favour of banning bosk monitors by any stretch, but bosk monitors are a very advanced species.
I think so.
And I don't think we fully understand exactly what we need to do to keep them properly.
Yeah.
There might be a very small number of keepers, and there are only 1 or 2 or 3 people breeding them
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah.
So I think we as reptile keepers need to police ourselves, and they are not a species that we should be seeing widespread in reptile shops for £50 or £70 for sale to the general public.
I think this is something that the reptile trade has done quite well over the years and is still gradually doing.
I think with Bosc monitors it has
slowly moved in that
when
direction.
I was a
hasn't it?
teenager, you'd go into any reptile shop and you'd see, hatchling Bosc monitors there.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to go a similar way to the way green iguanas have gone.
Yeah.
I actually think Bosc monitors, personally, and this might be controversial, I think Bosc monitors are actually harder to keep than green iguanas.
There's a good chance that could be true because of their environmental conditioning.
I've got lots of not lots, but I have green iguanas on my books that are in their teens.
Yeah.
I haven't got any Boscs.
Yeah, they go downhill quick when they're wrong, don't they?
But there are lots of other monitors that make great pets.
Yes.
Ackies. Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. And this, I think, is the key. Why would you choose a green iguana when a bearded dragon is probably more suitable? Why would you choose a Bosc monitor when a ridge-tailed Ackie is more suitable?
Yeah.
It's a very good point.
Some species are better suited to captivity and easier to manage.
And this is something that the trade looked at years ago when it was decided that perhaps we don't sell as many iguanas and perhaps people don't have a bad experience as their first initiation into reptile keeping. Perhaps they have a better species and have a better time with their first experience, and perhaps they become enthusiasts. Perhaps they become lifelong customers. So maybe it's the same transition to be thought of when we're talking about Boscs as opposed to Ackies or other lizards.